A man stands in his bathroom at 2 in the morning. The lights are too bright for the hour, and he does not turn them down. He is staring at his own reflection after doing the thing he swore last month he would never do again. The face in the mirror belongs to him, but something inside it has been bent out of shape. The image of God is still there, stamped into him the day he was formed, but something about that image is no longer sitting correctly under the skin. Most people think sin only offends God and stops there. They never consider what sin does to the design he placed inside them. They have not thought about the specific sin they committed this week and what it just did to the person staring back from the glass. They picture sin as a law broken in heaven. They do not picture it as a chisel taken to the image they were formed to carry. Every sin has a signature, and every signature leaves a mark on the one created in God's image. Pride. A man stands in his kitchen refusing to apologize to his wife while their children listen from the hallway. He knows he is wrong, and he still will not move his mouth to say it. Pride is the first sin recorded in heaven and the first sin recorded on earth. It is the sin that does not just offend God, it hollows out the capacity to receive love from him or from anyone else. This is not the arrogant coworker you are picturing right now. This is the way you went silent at dinner last week when someone corrected you gently. Pride builds a throne inside a heart that was designed as a sanctuary. It convinces you the room is big enough for only one name. It rewires your ears so that correction sounds like attack. It rewires your mouth so that apology tastes like death. Pride is the sin that slowly turns the image of God inside you into a mirror that only reflects yourself. Jesus, who was equal with God, emptied himself and knelt before betrayers with a towel in his hands. The throne you are defending is the one he already walked away from. The image he is restoring in you is the image of a king who washes feet. You were not designed to sit alone at the top of yourself. You were designed to bow low and find that heaven bowed lower first. Lust. A married man closes a laptop at 1 in the morning and lies down beside a wife he no longer sees clearly. She is 18 inches away, and she has never felt further. Lust retrains the eyes God gave you for covenant into eyes that consume and discard. Do not move this to the teenager down the street. Stay with your own screen history and the images still loading somewhere in your memory. Before your mind escapes to someone else's shame, stay inside your own story for 1 more minute. Every image you consumed rewired the way your brain receives a real human being. Every click taught you that people are catalogs to be scrolled, not souls to be cherished. You were designed to see one person as holy. Every image you consumed taught you to see every person as disposable. The same body that was broken on the cross rose again uncorrupted. That risen body is the model for what yours can still become under the hands of the one who designed it. Lust promised intimacy and delivered isolation. Resurrection promises covenant and delivers a body that can love again. The eyes he made can still be given back to you. Greed. A man refreshes his investment account during his daughter's piano recital. She is playing the piece she practiced for him all month, and he is not looking up. Greed replaces the image of a generous God inside you with the image of a hoarder who trusts no one. Before your mind goes to Wall Street, open your own banking app. Look at the tension you feel the moment generosity is asked of you. Greed is not measured by how much you have, it is measured by how tightly you hold it. It convinces you that the next dollar will finally silence the fear. It never does, and the fear grows in exact proportion to the balance. You were designed to reflect a God who gave his only son for people who had nothing to offer him. You have become someone who calculates the cost of buying coffee for a friend. Christ, who owned every galaxy, became poor so that you could become rich in the only currency that survives death. The hands that shape the mountains let themselves be pinned open on a cross. Those open hands are the image your hands were made to carry. Greed closes the fist. Resurrection opens it again and fills it with something that cannot rot. Wrath. A man drives home from work rehearsing a conversation he will never actually have. His fists are tight on the wheel, and the traffic has not moved in 6 minutes. Wrath installs a judge inside you who never rests and never leaves the bench. This is not the man who cut you off in traffic last Tuesday. This is the conversation you are still rehearsing from 2019. This is the name you still cannot say without your chest tightening. Wrath is the slow conversion of your inner life into a courtroom with no defendant present. You become prosecutor, judge, and executioner of a person who is not even in the room. The image of a patient God was stamped into you the day he formed you. You have spent years training yourself to respond like a prosecutor who never receives a plea. Jesus, carrying every legitimate reason for wrath in history, looked down from the cross and asked the Father to forgive them. The only man who had the right to burn the world down asked heaven to pardon it instead. That is the image he is restoring inside you. Not a man who cannot feel anger, but a man who knows where to lay it down. The gavel you have been holding for years was never yours to swing. Envy. A woman scrolls past a friend's pregnancy announcement. Her own test came back negative again this morning, and the tissue is still on the bathroom counter. Envy teaches you to see another person's blessing as evidence of your own abandonment. Do not pretend you have never felt this. Do not name the one church friend whose life quietly makes you angry. Do not let your mind escape to the person you are comparing yourself against right now. Envy is not wanting what someone else has. It is resenting God for what he chose to give them. It turns every scroll into a sermon about your own insufficiency. It poisons the joy you were designed to share with the people closest to you. You were designed to rejoice with those who rejoice. Envy has trained you to grieve every time someone else receives what you wanted. The risen Christ prepared breakfast for the disciples who ran from him. He served the men who had failed him before he asked them a single question. That hospitality is the pattern your heart was made to hold. Envy looks at another person's plate and sees theft. Resurrection looks at it and sees a table large enough for everyone. Gluttony. A man stands in front of an open refrigerator at midnight. He is not hungry, and he is looking for something. Food was never designed to give. Gluttony is not about weight. It is about using created things to do what only the Creator can do inside you. This is not the stranger in the checkout line with a full cart. This is the comfort you reach for the moment your prayer life feels dry. This is the second drink, the late scroll, the cart you checked out at 2 a.m. Every created thing was given to you as a gift, pointing back to the giver. Gluttony cuts the thread and keeps the gift. It trains you to medicate with what God sent to nourish you. Your body was designed as a temple where heaven and earth were meant to meet. You have spent years using it as a landfill for every appetite you refuse to bring to God. The resurrected Jesus ate fish on a shore in front of his disciples. He ate not to feed himself, but to prove that redeemed bodies receive food as gift, not as anesthesia. The temple you have been burying can still be unburied. The table he is preparing is already set with your name on the chair. Sloth. A man has been meaning to call his brother for 3 years. The next episode loads automatically, and he does not reach for the remote. Sloth is not laziness. It is the refusal to become the person God already designed you to be. Do not redirect this to the unemployed neighbor down the street. Stay with the calling you have been postponing since your 20s. Stay with the phone call, the book, the conversation, the repentance you keep scheduling for a better week. Sloth is the quiet sin that dresses itself up as rest. It convinces you that avoidance is patience and that delay is wisdom. It steals decades from people who thought they were only losing afternoons. You were designed for a specific work no one else on earth can do. You have spent years pretending you have more time than God actually gave you. The risen Christ appeared to his disciples and commissioned them on the same day. Resurrection life does not wait for a better season. What you just felt is not guilt, it is the design underneath the damage waking up. The man you were formed to be is still inside you, and he is still willing to call him out. Deceit. A man tells his small group a lightly edited version of his week. His wife sits beside him and quietly stares at her coffee. Every lie you tell is a small act of erasure against the true self God designed you to be. This is not the politician you watched on the news last night. This is the version of yourself you performed at church on Sunday. This is the prayer request you shaped carefully so no one would see the actual wound. Deceit is not one event, it is a slow sculpting of a false self until the real one becomes unrecognizable. It convinces you that hiding is safer than being known. It trains the people closest to you to love someone who does not actually exist. You were designed to bear the image of the God who cannot lie. You have rehearsed a false self for so long that even you are no longer sure where the performance ends. Jesus rose with wounds still visible. He refused to hide what had happened to his body, because truth and resurrection arrive together and will not be separated. The true self you have been protecting people from is the self he died to redeem. The mask comes off at the empty tomb, or it does not come off at all. 8 sins, 8 signatures. Every sin leaves a signature on the image. Pride left the signature of a throne, where a sanctuary used to be, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Lust left the signature of eyes that cannot see a person without consuming them, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Greed left the signature of a closed fist where open hands were formed, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Wrath left the signature of a courtroom where a father's house was built, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Envy left the signature of grief where shared joy was designed, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Gluttony left the signature of a landfill where a temple was consecrated, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Sloth left the signature of a postponed life where a commissioned one was waiting, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. Deceit left the signature of a performed self where a beloved one was formed, and every sin leaves a signature on the image. The only person in history whose image was never distorted took every distortion onto himself. He rose with a body that still bore the wounds. That resurrection is the only mechanism on earth strong enough to reforge what sin has bent inside you. The man in the bathroom mirror at 2 in the morning is not beyond repair. The image underneath the damage is still signed by the hand that made him, and that hand is still in the business of restoration today. Which of these 8 signatures is still on you right now? Tell me in the comments. Watch the next video on the Restoration Arc playlist after this one. And if this is the voice you have been looking for, subscribe to Woke Faith and stay with us.